Hey everybody, you're at home with Melissa, and I want to start off today with doing a quick little vlog. Today is early. Oh, hi Chloe. Get out of the way of the camera, goofball. That was Chloe. And Chloe likes to help me with, see her tail behind my shoulder. She likes to help me with everything I'm doing, and I love it. I really do. Chloe, now on the shelf behind me, looking at the birds outside the window, is one of two little rescue kitties I recently took in. It's been a busy 3 weeks, and that when you hear about everything that's been going on, you'll understand why. Oh, Chloe girl, you'll understand why I haven't done a vlog or an informational video for you. Oh, come on. Hello. Hi. Yeah. Oh, not your backside. No, that's rude. That's, oh, don't climb on that. That'll hurt you. Okay, I have my laptop over. Ah! Yeah, I could stop and start refilming this again, but this is kind of how things are done now. This is kind of how we roll. Chloe is one of two rescue kitties that I've taken in the past 3 weeks, and she is wonderful. So is her sister. And you'll hear me calling them sisters over and over and over, but technically they're not. They're not see, she's got me nervous now. They're not blood relatives. She knows I'm doing something with the camera, and she really does. She helps me with everything I do, and she's actually a big help with Spike the Bearded Dragon right now, and I'll tell you about that in a minute. First, I want to tell you about the rescue kitties. Now, they are just wonderful. They went through an awful ordeal before they came to live with me, and I'm fostering them, and we have Chloe and Gracie. And I call them sisters, even though they're actually not, because they've been together their whole lives and they are bonded. In fact, Chloe, the one who keeps running around me, she comforts Gracie a lot. Gracie, in spite of what they've been through, Chloe has come through it emotionally and psychologically well. Whereas Gracie seems to have, and I'm not saying this lightly, I mean it literally, she seems to have a kind of post-traumatic stress situation going on. She's hypervigilant, she startles easily, and she goes to run. Now, she has gotten to the point now where she's comfortable enough with me that if something startles her, which can be as easy as me, say, shuffling a foot. If I'm sitting and she comes to sit by me and I move my foot and it makes that noise on the floor, she'll run. But now she's to the point where if I go, "It's okay, Gracie," she'll just stop in her tracks and come back. But she still has that overactive startle reflex. And she and I and Chloe have been working together since 1 o'clock in the morning. I went to physical therapy yesterday, and it tends to release endorphins. Now, endorphins aren't just the things that make you happy and active. They can also make you drowsy. I think endorphins are basically just chemicals produced by the brain that cause different effects on the body. You know, they can cause the euphoria that you know of and things like that. But I think the drowsiness is also caused by the release of endorphins. I've got the impinged nerves in my back, and they're working to release those and things. And whenever I have physical therapy, it seems like quite often I come home and I'm so sleepy I can't stay awake. And that happened to me yesterday, and I went to sleep and I set an alarm for a few hours later. Now, slept through it and woke up at about 1 in the morning. So we've been up and doing things since 1 o'clock this morning, and as you can see behind me, the sun's coming up. It's going to be kind of a gray day, but the sun's coming up now. And Chloe and Gracie have been helping me with things all night. And so now Gracie has gone to her hidey hole, and I know where her hidey hole is now. And she is sleeping. So she's resting, and you might not see a whole lot of her in videos for a while. Not because of the nervousness, because, you know, she doesn't know that you're there. You know, so she just would know that she's sitting with me and I'm talking, and she would think that I'm talking to myself or whatever, or to her, and she'd be fine. But she tends to hang out with us in the early mornings and throughout the evening, and I tend to do videos for you guys in the afternoons or the middle of the night. And so, sometimes in the mornings too. Anyway, she might not be around as much as Chloe. Chloe, basically, if there's something going on, she wants to be a part of it. So even if she's asleep, she'll get up to help you with things. And she's been helping with Spike the bearded dragon. The reason is I'm working on an enclosure, and I may have mentioned this, I'm working on the enclosure for the lizard room, which is also the fish room. And at first, the reason I really wanted to put a push on it, it's bumping any improvements on the duck room out of the way, because this I thought was something we had to get going right away. The reason initially was because Spike apparently is on the prowl for a boyfriend. In the wild, bearded dragons, they don't socialize with other bearded dragons. They come together when they want to date. When they feel the urge to date, they go looking for someone to date. And they get together, they have their date, and then they go back on about their business. And she's been prowling. And she realized that I've taken down the barrier between her room and the library next door in order to build the enclosure. So since that's down, she has been running into the library. And if you saw that in past videos, you know that the library is in no fit shape to have a tiny little lizard who only stands this tall running around it. I mean, she's camouflage pattern gray on gray. So any little shadow she can blend into. And so I don't like her going out there for fear that she'll get in behind something and won't be able to get out or whatever. Looking for her would be frightening, nerve-wracking to me, for fear that what if I move something and harm her. But Chloe is fascinated with her. Hi ducks. I don't know if you can hear them. The ducks are saying hello. They've already been for a swim this morning and had a cuddle. Yeah, they cuddle now. They love it. And I love it. I pick them up and I hold them close to me, and Bernadette will wrap her neck around mine, and she cleans me. She grooms me. Bernadette does. Gertrude just sits there and snuggles in and gets petted and relaxes. But that's what Gertrude does. Bernadette cleans me. Whenever I'm holding her, she pecks at my hair. And so then I just take my fingers and do this to her feathers. And she loves it. And then they go for a swim and have some breakfast, and I go about what I'm doing. So that's where we are now. And anyway, back to the bearded dragon. Okay, so Chloe is fascinated with Spike. And so when the cats first came to be with me, I thought, well, that's the reason now that I need to get a move on with the enclosure. I need to keep the cats away from Spike. But Chloe wanted to be around Spike, so she kept going into the fish room, and I kept going in with her to observe things and make sure everything's all right and intervene if necessary. No, she doesn't harm Spike. She's fascinated with her. She likes watching her. But she has never shown any desire to even reach out a paw to her. So, they're getting along well, but with Spike being on the run, Chloe follows her. Chloe likes to follow her and keep a little distance and just watch what she does. And that's nice, because if I lose track, if I get busy with something and lose track of Spike, I just look for Chloe. And where she is, Spike will be. And they're both usually pretty close to wherever I am anyway. So then I get Spike, I bring her back to her room, and she waits a second and leaves again. And this is because my theory anyway, is that lizards with the primitive lizard brain, they're not spending all their time contemplating the meaning of the universe. So when they get an idea in their head, it's probably the only idea in their head. And her idea is, I want to go find a boyfriend. So she is determined to go on the hunt. And so she's forever going out there. I'm taking her back. She goes out there. I take her back. And this is something we're doing over and over and over and over throughout the day. And she is hyperactive right now, which is a weird thing for a lizard. But she is. She's hyperactive. So anyway, she went running around last night while I was doing some things in the kitchen, and I could hear her scurrying. I could hear where she was. And every now and then, Chloe would go check on her and come back and look at me like she's saying, she's all right, Mom. Yeah, I know she's all right. I can hear her. And so then I would go and look and make sure she was okay. And then this morning, she actually came out in the kitchen with us. And so I took her in her room and put her under the heating lamp. And right now she's warming up because, you know, it's in the 70s here in the house, and she can deal with that temperature just fine. She seems to. But they like it a little bit warmer, and supposedly in the 70s she should be getting kind of lethargic, but no, not right now. She's not. So she's under her lamp, and she's getting warmed up in the windowsill, taking in what little sunlight there is coming in and the heat from her lamp. And, you know, she's surrounded by her little fake tree. And Chloe goes in and checks on her and comes back and gives me the look. She's all right, Mom. Now, something else that's going on in the past few weeks, and another reason to put a push on getting the enclosure ready for the lizard room, is, if you know, in the past I've mentioned Bob, that I wanted to someday get a lizard that, because they bob their heads all the time, I would name Bob, and Bob would be the boyfriend for Spike. Well, my friend Raphael, thanks Raphael, big shout out to you. Raphael got me a late birthday present, and yeah, you may have guessed Bob, but you didn't guess this. He said he got a 2-for-1 deal, so for the price of one lizard, and he hates lizards, by the way. He told me not to even send him a picture, but for the price of one lizard, he got 2, a baby boy and a baby girl. So the baby boy I named Bob, and the baby girl I named Spike. I mean, no, I have a Spike. I named her Jill. Now, I'm going to do a video on them at some point, obviously. The baby bearded dragons and their care and things. Right now, they are in a small enclosure. It's a little terrarium with a nice solid lid. Because, yes, the cats can be trusted with Spike. Neither of them want to bother Spike. But a little fast, jumping, hyperactive, tiny little, because they're little, tiny little bearded dragon running around about the size of a mouse, about the speed of a mouse, making little scurrying noises. Yeah, no. I would not trust the cats with them for a second. Even if the cats knew that they were special and they were pets, because they pick up on that. You know, you're cuddling something, you're calling to it, and you're watching them very closely when they're with another animal. They realize that's a household member at some point. Even with that, I still wouldn't trust them with the babies. Because I'm sure at some point that hunter instinct would take over. So I want to get the enclosure made so the lizards can all hang out. And I'll be telling you a little bit about baby dragons in a video, a little bit about introducing them to older dragons, things like that. But right now, I'm doing this. And so we've got in the past few weeks, we've got the new kitties, the new lizards, started work on the enclosure, still working on the library, duck room's been put on hold, and we have some neat plants to show you. And these grow beds behind me, this one and one that's right up there, those are gonna go. I initially built these shelves with cats in mind. See how I staggered them? One here, then up there, and then there are 2 up even higher. They go the whole way to the ceiling. And the ceiling, I removed the lath and plaster ceiling, exposing the beams. Did that for a reason, which I will also show you when I eventually get to where I'm doing it. So many things. I'm so terrible. I start so many projects. But anyway, but there's reasons. I mean, those of you who watch on a regular basis, you know that any of these things I start to do, there are reasons. And when I start something and leave it partially finished and move on to something else, yeah, sometimes it's just because I got bored with the work and want to move on to something else. More often it's that something has come up that has suddenly become an issue and needs to be dealt with. So, you know, sometimes I got to do what I got to do. But these I built staggered for the cats. And Squeak, her actual name was Sasha, but Squeaky, my last kitty, she had no interest in climbing any higher than the second shelf. So I left the second shelf so that she could climb on those, but I took up the higher shelves in their entirety with grow beds. Chloe and Gracie want to climb those, and they're annoyed that those are there. So those are going to be moved to the top shelves in the fish room. And I don't think I'm going to set them up as a hydroponic, as an aquaponic system, at least not now, because right now I have air pumps. I don't have water pumps that aren't strong and things. And it'll just be easier to do these hydroponically. And so they're going to go to the top shelves of the fish room, freeing up these shelves. And on these shelves, I'm going to put, yes, grow beds. I'm not willing to lose a south-facing set of windows this big. So I will be putting small grow beds in there. And so that way the cats will have room and the grow beds will be there. So we've got all that going on, and we've got a lot of neat plants that we're working on. Plants with a T in there. Plants and, well, plans as well. And so we've got a lot to share with you, a lot going on, a lot of really cool things, and I hope you'll join us for all of them. In the meantime, you go out there, have a good time, learn stuff, do things. Just have fun and be interested in the world around you. It just makes everything so much nicer, you know, and it makes life so much more joyful. And I want that for me, I want that for my critters, and I want that for you. So I hope that's what you do between now and the next time we talk, and enjoy. Thanks for joining me. Bye-bye.